the general sense right now, like, what is it like for you? I mean, we had Schefter on in hour one, and he we were telling you off the air, he had one of those calls where it looked like, of course.
You don't think it was the stage call that he set up to look like he's really busy?
You know what? I want that to really be the case.
He set his alarm to ring for 10 minutes.
He's just call me right in the middle of my hit on the Rich Eisen Show.
9:12, Pacific.
I'm going to call Tom right now and have him answer. It's nonstop because everybody is trying to figure out what everybody else is doing, and people
folks use you for your information in a way.
They'll call, and sometimes they're asking questions where you can kind of tell that they are trying to get at something that they're trying to figure out. Other times it's they talk about other things and maybe try to lead you down the wrong path. There's a lot of that, but I think that a big piece of it is they've done all their homework on this stuff. Like
right.
The whole idea that teams will put out stuff intentionally to mess up the draft board, get guys to fall. It doesn't happen because every team's done their evaluations. Everybody's got their own board. All they're trying to do now is figure out where the hot spots are going to be at certain positions. If you're in the quarterback market, where are the quarterbacks going to go? If you're in the corner market, when do those guys start going? How many wide receivers go in round one? And you'll get completely different answers from team to team. And part of that's because everybody's got their board set differently. Yes. They got different grades. You're not going to find, in any draft, but especially this draft, you're definitely not going to find 32 guys with first-round grades in any building. But there are some players that are going to be much higher on one team's board than another's. Michael Penix Jr. is a perfect example where, I talked to people who had him as the number 2 quarterback. I talked to people who had him as the 7th quarterback. And that's real because it's, with him, it's how he plays and it's rhythm and it's in the pocket. And if you believe in that and you got a really good offensive line, you got weapons around him, he can distribute that football. If you prefer a quarterback who's going to get out, use his legs, extend plays, that's probably not your guy. But the gamesmanship of this entire thing, I think, is less about leaking false information or trying to get people to say things that are untrue. It's more so just trying to figure out, once you're in it and teams are on the clock, how is this whole thing going to fall? And do I need to move up to get my guy? Am I safe to move back to get my guy? I talked to a GM a short time ago who I don't think is taking a quarterback. Possible. I don't think he's taking a quarterback. But he said, you just can't get too cute when it comes to the quarterback. Like all this discussion about, the Patriots could trade down and then trade back up. Don't. Maybe, but you also might cost yourself somebody here. There's a risk factor that's involved with that, especially at the quarterback position. If you think you've got a franchise type of guy, you got to make sure you get him.
So 3 in a row to start. Your best guess. Let's play best guess with Tom Pelissero, everybody.
Love it.
I would be shocked if it's not 3 in a row.
Okay.
At the top right now. Caleb Williams to Chicago, barring an act of God. Washington, nothing's 100%, but I would say certainly a high percentage chance. And the belief within the league is Jaden Daniels goes at number 2. Then that puts New England up at number 3. Certainly Drake May to New England is a strong possibility. You have other teams like the Giants and the Vikings that have an interest in moving up. But if it's not Jaden Daniels that's still there at 3, I don't think the Raiders are in the mix to move up. I don't think the Broncos are in the mix to move up. If anything, the Broncos trade down in the various scenarios that exist right now. Then the real question becomes, if it's chalk, 1, 2, 3,
yes,
those 3 quarterbacks.
Drake May being the 3rd.
Drake May be in the 3rd.
Yes.
The really interesting part becomes, where does J.J. McCarthy go? He's going to go, my belief, somewhere between 4 and 11. In other words, you could potentially have, whether it's the Vikings, whether it's the Giants, somebody saying we just have to go up and get them because you have the threat of multiple teams that are in that mix. Or if the Vikings believe the Giants aren't actually going to take J.J. McCarthy, you could sit there and wait. You could see if he just comes to you at 11. And again, there's risk factor involved in that because somebody else you're not expecting could vault up ahead of you here. This is a really rare quarterback class where you've got, depending who you talk to, 6 or 7 guys here who are legit, can be NFL starting quarterbacks. And they're going to come off the board quickly here. It then becomes, all right, at what point do some of those other guys start to get pushed up? I believe Michael Penix goes in the first round, and I think that it's at least 50-50 that Bo Nix comes off the board on Thursday night as well.
So best guess, Tom Pelissero, the inflection point, the first inflection point in this draft is where? At which pick?
Well, I think that it comes down to 4 and 5 and whether the Cardinals or the Chargers can trade down from those picks. Because we know Monty Austin-Fort's open for business with Arizona.
They have 11 draft choices, though, and Marvin Harrison Jr. sitting there, and Hollywood Brown's a Kansas City Chief now. I mean,
let's say you've got those 3 receivers, though, graded pretty similarly, because you'll find those guys in different orders on different boards.
Yes.
If you believe Marvin Harrison Jr. is above and beyond the best receiver by far in this draft, then sure, you stand in there and take him. And I'd say sitting here right now, not knowing knowing exactly what's going to take place at 4 and 5. So that's the most likely scenario, as Marvin Harrison goes to Arizona. But if you got those guys graded similarly, and let's say the Giants are willing to trade up from 6 to 4 to go get their guy, do you go, all right, we just picked up an extra high draft pick, and we're still getting one of the top wide receivers in this draft? That's the unknown part of it. Is different teams do it different ways. There are a lot of teams that stack their board horizontally and vertically, and part of that is to make sure that you kind of know the players you've got grouped together. In other words, if we get one of these three, we're good. Or, hey, this guy is so far above and beyond, we can't run the risk of losing him, so we're not going to move. Again, it's the strategy of how the draft plays out, but in a lot of ways here, Monty Ossenfort is sitting on the number 1 pick in the draft, the number 1 non-quarterback pick in the draft, and there's going to be value in that if, in fact, there's somebody willing to trade up. If not, he can take anyone he wants. Marvin Harrison Jr. is certainly a pretty good bet.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.